I've kept chickens ever since I purchased my first home over 10 years ago, and I have found them to be very rewarding and entertaining. While living in the suburbs, we were only allowed to keep a small flock of 6 hens maximum, and during our time living there, we enjoyed having the fresh eggs that they provided to us. When we moved to our 14-acre property over a year ago, our small chicken coop came with us, which we had loaded in our stock trailer using a trailer valet, a dolly, and a lot of ambition. We knew we were going to build a larger chicken coop and ended up building a 25-foot by 15-foot chicken coop shed, and we love watching our flock grow over time. Now we have a total of 4 coops: the large one, the small one that came from our previous home, a small cedar coop, and a tiny coop that used to be a duck house, and we usually use it as a chicken hospital or to grow out any chicks that we may have. Springtime means an influx of egg production, but it also means an increase in parasite load for our chickens. Last year, we purchased a set of 3 chocolate laced Orpington chickens at our local animal swap. We named them Fabio, Fern, and Flora. At the time, we didn't realize that these 3 birds already had a pretty bad case of scaly leg mite. Scaly leg mites are gross little creatures that bury themselves under the scales of a chicken's feet and legs. They feed on the chicken and cause a lot of discomfort, and over time, the scales of the chicken will start to lift up and resemble more like a pine cone rather than the smooth, flat surface like the skin of a snake. This happens because the mites irritate the chicken's tissue, inflammation develops, and the buildup of debris causes the scales to push up. Scaly leg mites are highly contagious, and although we did put these guys in quarantine for a while when we got them, we do think it's very possible that the scaly leg mite likely has spread to our other birds, if not the entire flock, even though no other birds are showing symptoms of this issue yet. So we started treating these 3 Orpingtons first since they had the worst case of it. We quarantined them in the hospital coop, and then every other day we would prepare a bucket of warm bath water with Epsom salt and dish soap. Next, we would soak each bird for around 5 minutes in the bath water. The soak helps soften the crusty scales, debris, and material under and around the scales. The Epsom salt reduces swelling and also aids in the loosening of debris, and the soap cleans the legs. After the soaking, we pull the bird out and use a toothbrush to gently brush the scales and scrub them to further help remove the debris and prepare the leg and feet for treatment. In this case, we covered the feet and legs of the chicken with a heavy coating of petroleum jelly. This will suffocate the mites. We did this soak and treatment every other day for 3 weeks. Typically, you should only have to do it for 2 to break the mite to egg life cycle, but we did 3 just to be safe. We also did this in the evenings and hoped that the chicken would sit still mostly and keep the petroleum jelly intact. That way, it can work its magic. After several days of this treatment, they started sloughing off their leg scales, the ones that were infected anyway. Which, if you're dealing with this with your chickens, please remember to not intentionally pull those loose scales off. It will hurt the chicken and cause bleeding. It's better to let them fall off on their own, and they will over time. And then underneath those old crusty scales, there will be some new skin that's growing. Fern had one of the worst infestations, and I think her being irritated by the mites caused her to walk oddly. And because of that, she developed a super mild case of bumblefoot. Bumblefoot is a staph type infection and it can last forever. So it's important to keep a close eye on any bird that has it. I have had one bird in the past named Violet that could not get rid of it. And so I had to remove the bumblefoot plug repeatedly over the course of her life. Fern, however, did not have that bad of a case of bumblefoot, so we caught it early. You can see me poking around on the foot pad, and I'm checking for the firmness to see if the infection has grown back. When I treated her bumblefoot after her Epsom salt soak, I tried to, as gently as possible, pull the bumblefoot plug out of the bottom of her foot pad with some forceps. This does hurt the chicken, so you do want to hold her firmly as you see Andrew doing here, but it must be done. Otherwise, it will continue to spread and leave her lame, or it can cause death. Anyway, so you see me here removing the bandages because I had previously removed the bumblefoot infection, doused it in iodine, and then packed the wound with an antibiotic ointment and wrapped her foot to keep the bandage on. Her foot has healed up, so I'm removing the bandage entirely. I hope she doesn't get it again, but if she does, I'll try and make a more detailed video of how to do this. Now, Fabio, Fern, and Flora have mostly lost their infected scales and have started growing new ones. But that left the remaining 82 adult birds that have likely been exposed to scaly leg mites but are just not yet showing the symptoms. While treating Fabio, Fern, and Flora, we also staged a massive insecticide treatment for all of our chickens. We did this by locking them in on a Saturday so they could not leave the coop in the morning, and then proceeded to catch each and every bird and apply a topical treatment of ivermectin. I will leave a full list of all of the products that we used in the comments for anyone that would like to know. Ivermectin is not recognized for use on birds, but it does work. It's usually used on cattle. It will kill leg mites, lice, flies, worms, etc., which is why I decided to go ahead and use it rather than try and douse all 80 some birds in petroleum jelly every other day for over the next several weeks. Anyway, so to do this, we would catch each bird, and we could have put them on a scale to weigh each bird to get a more accurate weight check on each one, and then be able to provide a more accurate dosage. But for that many chickens, we just guessed their approximate weight when we picked them up. We used a 1 milliliter syringe without a needle to draw up the ivermectin into the syringe. Then we pulled back the neck feathers and placed the drops of ivermectin directly on the skin. This process is much like the topical flea and tick treatment you might have for your dog or cat. For large birds, we gave about 9 drops, and for tiny bantam birds, it was 1 or 2 drops. Then, of course, for all of the variations in between, we did the amount of drops for the approximate weight of the bird. There is a lot of variation on the internet with the dosage amounts, so we just did the best we could. While working through this process, we did notice that some of our roosters with longer neck feathers had lice, such as Fabio, Sarge, and Olaf. This is what I'm showing here. This rooster is called Sarge. He is a salmon fevorellus rooster, and he has lice, as you can see here. There are many kinds of chicken lice, but basically they feed on the feathers and dead skin of a chicken. Heavy lice infestations can cause decreased reproductive potential and reduced egg production. The ivermectin we are applying should kill the lice in addition to any mites or worms that Sarge has. In addition to dealing with the mites with ivermectin, I should also note that we add diatomaceous earth to the chicken's dust bath areas, but not every chicken uses those areas, and sometimes they just make their own, which doesn't really help kill the lice. Diatomaceous earth is actually a pretty interesting powder. I've used it before around the house to kill other insects, It's a natural powder made out of the fossilized remains of microscopic aquatic organisms called diatoms, according to Google. And basically, what it does is it just dries out the insects and then they eventually die. After working through all 80 of the adult birds and all four of our coops by applying ivermectin, we then cleaned the coops by removing the old litter on the floor and in the nest boxes. Then we thoroughly scrubbed all of the roosts with hot water and soap. My video of that part was corrupted, so you're just going to have to believe me that I spent a ton of time scrubbing all of the roosts. Then we let the coop dry out and went back later with a sprayer to spray permethrin throughout the entire coop. Not really sure if I'm saying that right, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But we sprayed it everywhere in the corners, on the roost, in the next boxes, and every little nook and cranny to help kill any hiding pests. We let it dry again and then put down fresh straw in the coop, in the floor, and in the nest boxes. So that was a ton of work and it took all day. But then now we're done, right? All of the pests are killed and we can all be happy and healthy and we're just finished with all of that hard work, right? Well, no, not exactly. We had to do it all over again the following week to break the life cycle of all of those pests and hopefully get rid of them for good. While working through all of this, you might have noticed our lead rooster, Brock, in a kennel on the floor of the coop. Brock was also combating his own ailments during this time and needed some special care and some special treatment. He was acting lethargic, laying his head down, and looking hunched over. He didn't seem really interested in eating and just seemed tired. I think Brock was likely suffering from intestinal parasites such as coccidiosis or perhaps some worms. Because our flock has a stationary coop and they're free to roam the entire 14 acres if they want, but they don't usually go that far, they do find all sorts of critters to eat. They will eat insects, worms, mice, and basically just about anything that seems edible. And sometimes those things can cause them to get ill. Based on Brock's symptoms, I was making an educated guess to his issue. So, Brock had to be housed in a kennel inside the coop because our chicken hospital was already housing Fabio, Fern, and Flora. I started putting Corid to treat the coccidosis, and I started by adding it to his water bowl, but he was refusing to drink water at first. While giving him meds, he was given a diet of fermented grain, scrambled eggs, and tuna. I was really trying to encourage him to eat. He is such a good rooster, though, and he kept pulling out the eggs and the tuna and feeding it through the kennel sides to his hens. But after giving some to them, he would also eat some himself. After those first few days, I started just putting the Corid in his water and kept feeding him high protein foods. He had lost a lot of weight, but was slowly gaining it back. Once he was healthy again, we kept him in the kennel for another week because otherwise we knew Brock would tire himself out by trying to be a good rooster to his flock. After that week was over, he was definitely ready to be out and about, and he immediately started roostering again, as you can see here. During this entire treatment process, we did discard all of the eggs that we collected during the treatments and for 2 weeks after the treatments just to be safe. So that was about a month of just throwing the eggs out, which hurt, but hey, at least everybody is healthier. The flock is healthy now, and I have not seen any more lice. The chickens with mites are growing back their scales, although it could take up to a year to fully heal. And Brock is back to leading the flock. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Root Cellar Homestead. And because she specially requested it, I must say hi to my niece. So, hi, Irison.
What are you doing? What are you doing?